I went back a week, and we were getting ready for Game 4. And at that point, the Oilers had just blown a lovely 2-0 lead. Dallas scored 3 in the second period and rolled to victory. Yeah. And we were wondering, maybe the Oilers might not play a game again this season. They might not get another win. Their season might be over by the time we even hit June. But you came on here and you were loving the Oilers, pumping those Oilers. I think these guys are great. I think Skinner's been this, and I think that Knobloch's been that, and they haven't lost since, and now they're 4 wins away. Well, so I hope you're happy.
I argued with Pinder about laying the depth on top of each other.
Yeah.
And it was Edmonton's depth that beat basically that.
It was. They were better in that series. I don't know that anyone else said that they would be, but you did. It was quite impressive. I didn't think that the Fogels and McLeods and Perrys would have outplayed the 80.
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's Noodles Stradama is what it is.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about that. Listen, I laid the rosters on top of each other yesterday because I'm back and forth. I'm flying into Edmonton and doing all of that for the panel.
Yeah.
It's damn close. Separator could be goaltending, which Bob has obviously the check mark there. But I went back and looked. Bob allowed 21 goals against Vegas in the finals last year.
I was going to say, he had the check mark against Aiden Hill last year too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He came in with a 950. It really doesn't matter what you've done to this point. Can you be good for another 2 weeks?
He did. You know, it's funny when you – listen, I think when Florida, for example – like the coach has got, like Paul Maurice he's got some mojo going on. He's winning every press conference right now. He's, feeling it, all of that type of stuff. But he's got that team playing. They play for keeps, and there's no doubting that. But I looked at their rosters yesterday. So, for example, if you lay them on top of each other, that top line for Florida, Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Reinhart, pretty damn good first line.
Yep.
But if Edmonton goes RNH, McDavid, Hyman, RNH had 100 points last year, didn't have that this year.
Nope.
You got McDavid, and Reinhart had 57, Hyman had 54, right? Like they kind of cancel each other, but does the tie go to McDavid or does the tie go to Barkov, who's, having a great, so like they're pretty damn close.
Go to the second line. What do you got now?
Well, Tkachuk, Bennett, and Rodriguez. Now, Tkachuk is a very unique, I think he's a separator because of the way he plays. I think same thing with Bennett. But then, let's go to Edmonton. This is where I think their second line struggles because right now they've got McLeod, Draisaitl, and Perry. I don't think Perry.
One second liner on that line.
What's that? Yeah, I think Perry won't end up there.
No.
I think what'll happen is he'll push down. If Kane can play, I think Kane can go up if he can play. And Kane is a guy that, when you remember the Edmonton-Calgary series, he was a bastard to play against. He was the guy that got in Tkachuk's face, and Tkachuk didn't want to fight him. He went after Bennett. He's a guy that can be the great equalizer there. Now, Kane, Henrique, and Holloway is a really nice third line where you go back to Florida, for example, and Florida got Lesterainen, Lundell, and Tarasenko. They're both, both lines are, you can make an argument for both of them. Pretty decent, right? Now, this is Florida's last game. Their fourth line was Lorentz, Stenlund, and Opozo. Now, I don't know if Cousins draws in.
Mm-hmm. Lomberg could come back.
Lomberg, that's, you throw some pests in there. And then Edmonton's fourth line, I think, has played very well. That's Janmark, Ryan, and Connor Brown has played really, really well. That's that penalty kill. I think Carrick might come in. I think Perry might go down and one of them come up, mix and match. I think we might see Fogel because he's a heavier body go in. Ryan McLeod still played too soft, if you ask me. He's a great skater. He's good on the penalty kill, but I think he needs to dig in physically, and that's where they might put Fogel, bigger body, back into it. But if you lay them on top of each other, they're pretty damn close. The separator could be 97 if he just is – I was in the building for Game 6, and honest to God, when he scored that goal, I said to my buddy I was sitting with, I don't think he's going to be denied. I just felt like he was not going to let them lose that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was critical for them to win that game because I don't think, going back to Game 7 in Dallas, I don't think they would have won it. I think Pete DeBoer 8-0 in Game 7s. maybe Dallas finds some mojo. Skinner has an off. You never know. There's just too much factors. But I think the separator might be the D. Ekholm and Bouchard, I think, could be better than their top pairing with, hold on a second, Forsling and Ekblad. Like, Bouchard's 82 points and 27 points in the playoffs. Like, he might be the best out of all of them just offensively, and he's been solid. Go ahead, Rhett.
Well, I'm just going to question. Does Ekblad get enough love? Like, and I go back to the last series, and I mean, it's not just Ekblad, but Ekblad, to me, I think if they end up winning, is going to start to get that Hedman conversation where, oh, he's just that guy that's always there and does the right stuff and just chews up lots of minutes, and just, you maybe don't notice him so much until the series is over and you go, oh, how did the other team's top line do? Oh, they didn't do that. Oh, well, it's not just Barkov. There's other guys. And I'm wondering if Ekblad might be like that.
This Forsling's a hell of a player.
Yeah, they locked him up. That's a waiver claim. That's found money, guys.
Yeah, that's a hell of a player. But is that a coin flip for that top pairing? Is it Bouchard? Like, because Ekholm's no walk in the park either. He's a hell of a player and big and solid. And then where I think Florida's better is their depth on D. Is Mikkola and Montour versus, I guess, do you want to do how Edmonton ended, was Nurse and Kulak, Broberg, and Ceci. They had to break those two up. I said this morning on a show, I think Darnell Nurse could be a really big X factor, because if he plays like he did the game where the one went off his ass and basically said, to hell with this, because he was -2 before he even put his gear on. Like, that was, we're all sitting on our couch. It's 2 Cobb Dallas. And you're like, holy smokes, this is going to be 10-0. And then they flipped the switch. Nurse had 12 hits that night, and he got back to kind of what he's capable of doing. And that's being a bully, big and mean, physical, making somebody pay. So I think if Florida has this mantra that they're bullies, I think Edmonton can stand up to them physically. That's where, if you can neutralize them physically, and I mean push back, then you see who, the skill guys take over. Now, is it Verhaeghe? Is it Nugent Hopkins? Is it Draisaitl and McDavid? Is it Barkov? Is it, Reinhart? You go right down the line. Tarasenko chips in his 3rd goal against the Rangers. So I don't think, like, I kind of feel like this series is a pick 'em. Like, It's not like, hey, Florida's just going to mop the floor with them. And then, the goalie, both goalies, Skinner, I think, absolved himself a little bit, but there is still, I think there's a layer of doubt where it's, you don't have that 4 years, 5 years of what this guy's done. But then I think back to Bobrovsky, it was a calendar year where, he got them into the finals and all of that, but it was Alex Lyon that helped them get into playoffs. So, there's still kind of thin layers of question marks. Bobrovsky's got the check mark for me, but Ottinger had the check mark for me too.
Yeah. We were talking about that the other day. It feels like when you have one of those goaltending tandems, you go back to Winnipeg. It was Connor Hellebuck was absolutely getting the check mark over Georgie 5, and then after game 1, you're like, well, it's a bad night for Hellebuck, but Georgie's. They're hooped. They're Justus Ananen's going to have to be the guy. And then he settled, Georgie settled in, and Hellebuck didn't settle in very well, and the series was over in 5.
Yeah.
It's impossible to predict goaltending. It's just too volatile.
I was just going to say, it's almost impossible to predict anything when it comes to this type of year, because you wouldn't have guessed at the start of round number 3 that you would be having Philip Broberg in the conversation going into a round 4. I don't know that when you're going into the Vancouver series, you were going to talk about, the goaltending there, Archer Seelov, and how good he was going to be.
Yeah.
Things just changed so quickly. All you can do is take a look at the path that they got there. Edmonton, full marks to the way they handled Dallas. Did Dallas fall apart? Feels like they did, but that's not Edmonton's fault. What do you make of the path that the Panthers made? They go over, they got Tampa Bay in 5, Boston in 6, and then we saw the Rangers in 6. I guess, what'd you see from Tampa, Boston, and the Rangers? Is that a good enough kind of a pushback measuring stick for you to assess where Florida's game is at right now?
I think Florida, their team game is probably the best in the league. Like the way that they play as a group, they forecheck hard, they pressure you. I think their motto is like, to hell with this. We're never going to be tentative. We're never going to sit back and just try and manage a game or whatever. Like Edmonton tried to manage that game the other night. They got up to, shots are 35-10. Skinner had to be good. Like, to me, they kind of just defended. Florida doesn't sit back and defend. They forecheck the hell out of you. They push. They try. Like you said, Broberg. I think Desharnais we might see him back in this series. You need a big body back there that can absorb contact. The problem is he going to be able to move the puck quick enough? Because Florida, they'll pound you, and then they create chances off of turnovers in the offensive zone. I think Florida plays the best team game because their D jump up in the rush. Their forwards are really responsible, like defensively, and the goalie's been good. And I think the goalie's good because they don't give up. They're not a team that gives up 23 high-quality chances in a game. So Bobrovsky can manage the workload. I think the reason why Florida was able to handle those teams is they never stepped out of their formula of how they win. And that's working hard, forecheck. Teams will be able to beat you. Bobrovsky's not good on a night, or maybe they get in penalty trouble. That's where it'll be a fine line. I said this before. I'll say it again. I think the Edmonton can probably win 2 games, maybe a third game alone on these factors. And they might tie in together. McDavid might just go, I've got a game. Put his hand up. McDavid and or Draisaitl might go, I'm the best player on the ice. It's not happening with me out here. I think the goalie can steal one, or has to steal one, Skinner. And I think your power play and your penalty kill or combination has to win you a game. So there's 2 or 3 cases, to try and get 3 wins. Can you get the 4th? And will Florida allow that? Because you look at Florida's penalty kill and power play strong. They're great 5-on-5. And I think they're deep. There's no weaknesses to their team. But can Edmonton kind of suck them in? And maybe, again, that Dallas series, Dallas was the least penalized team in the league. Like, Florida's not. Florida will take.
Yeah, this is the greasiest team in the league.
Right. So if you're going to take 6 penalties in a game and Edmonton scores on 2 or 3 of them because they find that formula and that mojo, you better watch out. Like, that's something I think where it's a fine line between being aggressive and being stupid. And I think Florida's found it, but they also cross over into that other side where it might be a night where Edmonton gets ahead and Florida says, to hell with it, we're going to start punching people in the face. And we're going to lose 6-1 that night, and we'll reset and try and be smarter next game. But that's where, if Edmonton, I think, has a chance, there's got to be a McDavid night, there's got to be a Skinner night, and there's got to be a power play night where that's kind of a formula to help them.
Shit, their special teams could win you 4. Like, their penalty kill's perfect, and they have the best power play in the NHL. You don't have to chalk one up there. But again, maybe Florida's special teams can outshine for the next 2 weeks. I think the most curious thing I'm watching is exactly what you just wrapped up with there. And I don't know how we got 10 minutes to get there, but Florida is the greasiest, dirtiest, after the whistle, grimiest, glove in your face, piss you off, get under your skin team in the league. Edmonton has some guys that can handle it, but they haven't played a team like Florida yet. Dallas didn't do any of it with them. Edmonton has the most dangerous power play on planet Earth in the last half decade because of the personnel they can run. They've added Bouchard to a group that already had, Hyman 50 in front of the net, Draisaitl and McDavid, and the lucky guy that gets points hanging with those 4 guys.
Right.
Can you stay out of the box and live to your identity? And if we're being honest, it might not be a Florida Panthers question. It might be a officiating question, because we know consistency does this all the time with this league. High stakes, playoffs, regular season. No one knows what the hell a penalty is or isn't at different times. Like, this is going to be a really difficult series to officiate because both fan bases are going to be screaming, and the Edmonton fan base might be as vocal, as loud as any on earth.
Yeah. And exactly. Anybody who goes near McDavid, it's like, hey, you got to be mindful of all of that. That being said, I've always believed that, I hoped maybe that refereeing shouldn't be like, when I don't notice them, to me, it's a good game. Like, I didn't mind that Dallas series, like, okay, too many man, power play, like blatant trip here, all of that type of stuff. But you're right. Florida doesn't play like that. It's scrum at every whistle. It's cheap shot. It's chirp. It's punch in the face. And it's pushing the limits to finally where the ref goes, I got to make this call because you just did that. Where I would like to see, as I know this is against kind of probably what people think, but as it gets deeper in the playoffs, I like less penalties. I like just letting them play. But the problem is Florida pushes the envelope to the point where can you let them play where it's like the old school, Rhett, you used to, we all made a living at it. I laugh, but Rhett, you'd chop somebody or you'd cross-check them 5 times and the ref would be yelling at you, Rhett, enough.
No more.
One more, I'm going to make if you cross-check him the 6th time, you're going to get it. Like that 6th time is just too far for me. I don't see that. I don't envision it, but you make a good point. I think I think the reffing has to find or establish the standard and go, this is what we're doing. And you want to cross the standard, then you're going to be in the box. If you want to play hard and play nose to nose and, a few stinky gloves here and a shot there. I mean, I have no problem if guys punch each other in the face and the ref takes them both or just lets them go, hey, it's even and nothing to see here. But they have to establish the standard so the players know how to go to that line and not cross it.
I'm just waiting for this is getting out of control. The refs are going to have to pull one guy out of this pile to set an example. And that's the exact bullshit that drives us nuts because it's like it's a scrum and you're going to give someone a power play. But in this series, you're talking about a really legit power play, whichever side it's going to.
Well, and the other thing, too, is I liked Adam Henrique. I don't know if you saw him and Perry on the podium, and they're talking about, the Bennetts and Kachucks, and he's like, well, we got a Corey Perry, which is true. Corey Perry.
A 38-year-old Corey Perry.
That would be my concern if you're a Flames fan and not cheering for the team up north is that, yes, the Panthers, and I liked how they play, and they're gritty, and Edmonton is plenty gritty. They might not play like the Panthers play, but they've got more than enough guys that can.
Yeah,
I don't see
Florida.
I don't see them as soft. I don't think they're
no.
I really don't.
No, but they're not as greasy. I mean, they've got 6 or 7 rats on that team. It's Lomberg, it's Kachuk, it's
Lomberg
Bennett.
barely plays. Lomberg is in and out of the lineup.
When
and
he's
plays,
in,
he plays
he's a shit disturber, and when he's not, it's Gadjevit, and when he's not, it's Nick Cousins, who's an absolute animal at getting under your skin. Maybe the best rat in the league today. Yeah. Like it's their DNA. I'm sorry, the Oilers can deal with it. They're not at that level.
I'm not saying they are. They don't play that way. I'm saying that I don't believe that they're going to be intimidated because of Cousins and those guys trying to run around.
Yeah, I don't think it's intimidation. It's do you let them get under your skin? Like we're not talking about fights. We're talking about agitating you and getting you off your game. They haven't.
When you've got that power play, though, I think it's a lot easier. Don't get involved. Don't get into it. Just take the power plays. And the thing with that power play is you may only get 2 or 3 a night. Could be enough.
Got to make it.
You saw in games 5 and 6
they
for Edmonton. They scored bang. It was
but that's what it is you find kind of that happy medium. And that's why I kind of come back to like the Nurses and the Canes and guys like that. Carrick can handle himself, Ekholm. Like there is guys that can handle themselves on that roster. They may not, outside of Perry, they don't go looking for it. They can play it. And I think there's one guy who's shy on the Oilers roster, and it's McLeod. And I think he's a guy who can get his nose dirty, but he doesn't do it. He has to, and he would be a guy for me that is on the cusp of being in and out, because if they decide that they need a bigger body, it's Foegele that goes back in, and you put him on the wing because he can skate. He's a fast skater, a lot like, McLeod, but Fogel's a bigger body and can be more physical. So I think there's like little, you look at Chris Knobloch and some of the tweaks that he's made. Broberg's been nice. Against Dallas, it was like it's a no-hitter. It's going to be, you got to be quick. You got to exit the zone. Against Florida, it's going to be a massive hitter, and you still have to be quick and exit the zone. So do you give Broberg an opportunity to use his skating to adapt to that physicality, or do you put Desharnais? I think we're going to see Desharnais at some point back in that series. Because they're, a 6'7" defenseman who can,
especially if it's greasy, right?
Yeah, if it gets greasy, he can take care of stuff in front of the net. I think it's fascinating, but it all comes back to how disciplined are these teams going to be to play their system, to play they want, or play between the lines. Where if Edmonton's power play is hanging over top of them, say, you know what, I'm not going to punch somebody in the face after the whistle because if I'm going to give McDavid a chance to go nuts on a power play. So it's fascinating. But both these teams, kind of how they've arrived, it's pretty interesting. I think we have seen kind of Edmonton grow in front of our eyes as far as what it takes to kind of win these 2-1 games. I would say that last game against Dallas, that's not a formula to win.
It's a good point you make. And when did it start? And you can argue, okay, so you go back to last year and they lose, or you go to the start of the year when they have the losing streak, that horrible run until late November, and then they pivot. You even go back to round 1 against the Kings. There was a little bit of adversity there, and then they win 1-0, right? Like they pitch a shutout, they get a 1-0 win. And then against Vancouver, it just feels like if you're waiting for the that old fragile Oilers team to show up, I don't think it's there. I think that this team has grown, but I guess the question, one that can't be answered, but I throw to you, there's still a team that's not been here, right?
Florida has
going in there and all the banners are up and there's media and all the extra stuff that goes with the Stanley Cup final and everything.
Yeah.
Florida just did it. None of the Oiler guys have done it.
Yeah, Corey Perry's done it a lot, and I would think that he's going to have a big voice. Well,
Ekholm played in one final. Perry's only got this one.
Henrique's gone to a final, hasn't he?
That's fair, yeah.
Like, there hasn't been a lot of guys. You're right. Like, for Florida, that's a calendar year. That whole group just did that. So even the distractions, like Rhett, you can talk to. I wasn't on that team, but you can talk to the distractions of all the floaters coming out of the woodwork. Hey, I need tickets. Hey, I went to in grade 7. You were in my math class. Can I get 4 tickets for the finals?
Or if you stop to grab a case of Coors Light and Molson Canadian, people just want to say hi to you.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Like, those guys are outside of the guy who basically climbed in the car with him.
On the
Give me a hug now, Connor.
That was a little bit, of a stretch, but I thought it was awesome. Like, if there isn't anything more Canadian than that, I don't know when that was taken. Was that after the game?
It had to be.
He was wearing the suit, right?
It has to be post-game.
Yeah.
And
I was trying to put my kids to bed at 9 last night. Still bright here, Noodles.
Yeah, so it had to have been.
You're right, because it was a 6:00 game. He would have been done his media and all that out of the rink by 10.
Yeah.
But these two over here, I guess, were giving McDavid shit for doing it. They're like,
how do you make $12.5 million and you don't have someone that can get you beer? Like, what are you doing?
No. Listen, I said, my hope is that he embraces it and is fine with it. If he's got issues with it, he should know better.
If he's got issues with it, he's not resigning there. I'm sorry. It's like you're a superstar in Edmonton.
If you've got issues with it, you've got a handler that does all of that. Like, to me, that was a spontaneous, is like, hey, we're meeting at my house. Like, Rhett, how many times did we lost to Tampa that night, 7-2 in like a January, and Rhett calls a team meeting, everyone to my house. Nobody go to the bar, everyone to my house.
Yeah.
I'm sure on the way home you had to stop to get beer, unless he sent Deke to do it. I don't know. But my point is like, I think that was awesome.
It's what you said. It's Canadian, and that's what it's all of the above. It's amazing. It's funny. If it bugged him, he shouldn't do it.
Right. And you know what? I think it bothered him once. In his mind, he's like, nobody's going to be at the liquor store on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock. Yeah. I'm going to go. I'll sneak in and grab 400 beer. And
like, can you imagine? Can you imagine LeBron swinging by for some Bud Lights?
Thank you so much, man. I'm so happy.
We don't need
you know what? They were, other than them, like reaching out and patting him on the back and stuff,
tapping him on the head like a dog. He just sort of looks at the lady, his girlfriend or whatever, and he just sort of nods like, let's get this in as quick as we can and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, like I said, I was joking yesterday. I'm like, what neighborhood did they stop in? Because like the house in the back, like that is like a beer store that's open 24 hours illegally that he stopped at. You know what I mean? Like, I love
everybody shit on those guys, and yeah, it's give them some space. But at the same time, it is very Canadian. I was not really worried for his safety.
Oh
no!
Any of those guys were going to hurt him.
They were too excited.
Driving your, what I don't know what your Porsche Cayenne. Yeah. Give me the keys, and I'm taking the beer. Get the hell out of here! Like,
yeah, we'll give you a ride. What do you need, man? What do you need? Exactly. So it didn't feel like a dangerous situation. But
no, it was just I think it was like shock and awe. It's like, hey, that guy, that's Connor McDavid. That's not a guy that looks like Connor McDavid. That is him with a bunch of Coors Light coming out of the beer, and it looked like some coolers and all of that. Like, to me, I guarantee you they had a team party afterwards at somebody's house. They can't go to a bar.
No.
So he makes a phone call and goes, all right, everybody, when you're all done your media and you shower and all that, like, come to my house, and guys, girls, the whole team as a group is going to go over there. And he probably calls his wife and she goes, we're going to need more beer. We're going to
need some vodka coolers.
Yeah. Grab as much as you can on the way. So he's grabbing it. And like, to me, I thought it was awesome. I don't know. Like, you're right. There was nothing threatening about it other than the fact it's just like, he makes 12.5 US. Keep in mind, that's 16 million Canadian, right? With the exchange rate. You can make a phone call. You can call that liquor store and say, have the owner deliver it to my house. Really.
Did Game 6 sneak up on them? You could have a war chest a week out. Like, you could have 8 freaking freezers full of beer.
But again,
keep in mind, a week earlier, Dallas was kind of, looked
You're
around.
having a party either way. I don't care. Win or lose, you're on the booze.
I'll say this also. It might sound cheesy. You're not thinking about anything else.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
That's
aren't.
what it is.
And if you are, you're doing your team and yourself a disservice. There's zero focus other than, I got to go to the rink. I got to do this. I got to have my routine. I'm doing this. They said he's wearing the same suit. He's obviously got some superstitions behind. Like,
do we have enough beers if guys come over after the win tonight?
If we win, do we have beer? Not part of the thought process.
Yeah. You know what? I love that, because I can actually, there's a few things you can point to of how dialed in he's been. Some of these goals, he didn't even celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he celebrated the other night on that. Yeah. But his overtime goal, game 1, it looked like he was out for, like, he was kind of pissed. Like, he hadn't scored in the first overtime. Yeah. And then, he had that shot off Bouchard's goal, shot off the right pad. If you look, there's no like fist pumping, nothing. It's like, okay, we scored, like looking at the clock. What are we doing here? Like, he's been laser focused. So I agree. He didn't go to the rink saying to his girlfriend or his fiance, make sure the house is stocked if we win tonight. Like, he's like, I'll see you after the game, and I could be on a plane tomorrow. Like, I think he's been so dialed in. That was spontaneous what he did.
He's the most uncomfortable celebrity, and I don't blame him for it. It's just totally his nature. Like, you could see a guy like Wayne or Sid and be like, all right, guys, let's get a photo, quick one, bang. And he's just like fighting his way through, trying not to make eye contact. You remember that photo at the airport in Anaheim when they made the playoffs 3-4 years ago? And he's like awkwardly posing with this like family. Like, the guy just has no interest in being famous.
Alone,
he's just hockey.
That picture alone, like, that looked like he was a hostage.
Yes.
And it like,
like twice.
The lady was holding on to him for dear life, and he looked so awkward. But I blame that. Now, again, the world's changed, but the way that guys have to travel, that was at the airport. And nowadays, the guys have to go through customs and then get on the plane. It used to be that we would get on the plane and customs would come on. You can't do that now after, there's security threats, all of that type of stuff. But it used to be that your routine was a little bit easier to travel. You drive to the charter terminal, you get on, customs comes on, they look at your forms, all of that, and away you go. Now the guys actually have to trek through the airport. And the funniest thing is when you go through security and they're being heroes, you got to take out you got to do this and that. And at the end of security, they got a jersey for you to sign. And I'm like, like, I don't know how many times with the Flames we'd be walking through and the guy, they're doing their job and I'm not mad at them about it, but they'd be grilling you. You can't take this, you can't do that. And then at the other end, hey, can I get a picture and sign my jersey? And of course you do, but you're like, dude, you just, rushed me, like, full cavity search there, 5 feet away. Now you want a picture,
Mr. Warner, why do you have a joint over your ear? Can you sign this, please?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, look at this. The poor guy just wants to win hockey games and be left alone. And he had to go get drafted by Edmonton, the one place you can't be left alone and play hockey.
Oh my God. I love that picture. Like it looks like each of them are going to rip an arm off of him.
It is very much blink twice.
Yeah.
Act natural. Don't just Play it cool. Just play it cool. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it honestly
one
we'll
for
see
you.
how it unfolds. What do you got?
He's in division. We don't see him a ton. You hear the acclaim. He's going to win every Selke until he's not effective anymore, which probably means he's got about 10. What do you know about Alex Barkov? Because I remember being in Florida and chatting with some members of the coaching staff. This one, they weren't good yet. And they said, this is the guy. He's our leader. He sets the culture. It's all going to happen with guys falling in line behind him. And that was, I think, Bob Bugner's crew in Florida. So that was before they got good. Barkov, what is he? And how is he going to handle the best offensive centerman on the planet?
Well, okay, so if you look at the trail he's left behind, it was Kucherov 0 goals. It was Pasternak 1 goal, and it was Panarin 0 goals. And
1 for Panarin, 0 for Zibanejad, I think it was what it was.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. Sorry. And to me, what he does well is he thinks the game. Like he's big and he's strong, so he can physically outpower you when getting under sticks, body position, all of that defensively. He's a good skater for a big guy, and he competes hard. He's not punching like he is actually the craziest thing about Florida is Florida's this tough, mean, dirty team. He's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But he's their best player because he can do everything to a T. He's great offensive. He's a great passer. Like you'll see, his vision is unbelievable offensively. And you look at it, obviously Huberdeau misses him immensely, right? Like it's not even close, like having that type of player, that type of chemistry with him. But I think what you're going to see is a guy who can keep up in all scenarios. Now, McDavid can beat him like straight out speed, but there's not going to be breakaways. So Barkov's going to angle him. Barkov's going to be able to contain him. It's where McDavid's going to have the separator is power play. If he's able to beat Barkov in that first step through the neutral zone, and now it'll be onto Forsling if they get the matchups, right? Forsling's going to have to stand up to him. But Barkov's got an unbelievable stick. There's just no weakness to his game. The one thing I've never really seen is somebody punch him. Like, if you want to get into the trenches, how does he handle the rough stuff?
That's
the army behind him. That's why
I said it the other day. Somebody asked on one of the questions was how, if you got rats on the other team, how do you deal with it? Well, you don't go after them.
Yeah.
You go after Barkov.
Exactly.
And I think Florida would love that, to be honest. Turn this thing into an alley fight, the trenches. That's where they thrive, right?
But then you got to be careful. You go after Barkov, that makes 97 fair
100%.
game.
He's fair game anyway.
He is, but I think there's a layer there where it's like even the refs kind of got a horse eye on it. I say horse eye where you're looking sideways, kind of, okay, I'm watching over there type of thing. So because Draisaitl can handle that. Like Draisaitl's good in the muck. He likes the physicality. He gives it back. He can be as dirty as the guys on the other side. Like Draisaitl, I'm not worried about. 97 has fought through it. It just, I keep thinking like Bennett's a wild card for me because Bennett just doesn't care. I just don't think he cares.
He's tough as hell too.
And he's tough as nails. But that's where I come back to.
Take 7 penalties.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it might be a scenario where if Evander Kane goes to Bennett, we're fighting. Then he'll fight, but at least he knows like you got somebody over here that will stand up to you. Because I didn't see it in these other teams. I didn't see anybody skate up to Sam Bennett and go, "We're going." Like you're acting up. We're done.
Yeah.
And I just, not that they would beat him up, and even if they beat him up, it wouldn't stop him. But it's just a deterrent. Like he needs to know somebody will physically stand up to him.
Go look at his fight log. Sam Bennett is sneaky old man tough. Like honestly, we marveled. He was drafted to be a high skill guy. He's a high motor guy with just okay skill. The IQ's okay. He works his tail off. He's tough as nails.
I agree. Go back to that Trouba fight in Calgary. Yeah. That was like Trouba, when Trouba was in Winnipeg, I thought Trouba was getting the better of him, and then Bennett was like, "Nope, that's ain't happening," and he got him good. So Bennett's a really dangerous player. So is Tkachuk. Like we haven't lost in all this talking about a guy like we're
20
talking
wild cards. That's all I've drawn from this conversation.
Yeah, but it's awesome. I think it's going to be a good final. I hope it is. I hope it goes 6 or 7 games, and you get to see some great hockey. That's really what I hope for. Because listen, I grew up in Edmonton. I'm not an Oilers fan, but my friends are all Oiler fans, and I'd be happy for them. And I played for the Panthers, and I got a lot of friends there. Luongo and Brian McCabe and Greg Campbell, who's an AGM there. Bill Zito, I knew from back in the day with the Islanders. Like, honestly, I don't really have skin in the game, but I'm happy that both of these organizations are there right now. We'll see what happens.
I'll throw this out there just because when you guys were talking about Barkov, I remember his draft year, and we were doing interviews leading in, and one of the guys that we talked to was your old teammate Ville Nieminen. And Nieminen was playing with him that year, 12-13, with the Tappara Tampere. And Nieminen was 35, led the team in scoring, and Barkov was 16, second in team scoring, just 2 points behind. And I remember he was saying, he's playing with men. He is physically ready. He is so smart. He is so skilled. And I don't know, he was never like he was not going to be a high draft pick. But he went from 5 to maybe top 4, maybe 3. It was one of those things. And I just remember that conversation. He's like, this is one of the safest picks that any team is going to make, because even if he doesn't lead you in scoring, he's going to be so good in his own end. He's an all around.
And that was the Memorial Cup year where it was Duran, McKinnon, and Jones, and him going at 2 is the big whoa. If I'm correct.
He's a hell of a player, though. Like a hell of a player. But like I say, now the other thing too is we always expect that everyone will be at the top of their game, but it's, like Panarin and Zibanejad and those, Florida found a way to neutralize them. Yeah. Because those guys were non-factors. Kreider, I look at that, like Dallas, the same thing. Like, we didn't see the best. Like Pavelski, I felt bad for him. Like Pavelski, I think he had a really nice tip in the first period in the high slot last game. He had a shot down the wall, but outside of that, like he looked 39. Mm-hmm. And Hintz didn't look like he didn't look healthy or didn't look happy. Robertson, like these top tier players on both sides of the teams that ended up losing, their best weren't their best. And that's really what it was. Or Edmonton and Florida just found a way to neutralize their best. So we'll see how they match up here and who has great series and who doesn't push through and doesn't play their best.
And speaking of your friends back in Edmonton, I saw the video of her, that one friend of yours. Was it game 4 when she was there in the stands with the jersey and that whole thing? That's your friend, right? It's got to be one of your buddies.
It's my nanny.
Your nanny.
My nanny would never do that.
Heck of a gal. Hell of a gal.
That was trending, man. That was trending everywhere. Like that touched worldwide status.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that she knew that, but
she might now.
I don't know that she's going to be able to stroll them all to the 8 Aldos without being recognized.
You can't scrub the internet now, so
that's the thing.
Now she's getting offers from a lot of sites. They're offering a lot of money.
Boy.
This is a career move.
Well, I felt like, keep in mind, in 2004 there was no cameras. There was no camera phones back then, because the shirts off for Kiprusoff, I felt like there was we might have witnessed some things.
They had to start a website for that. There wasn't.
I got taken down when some executive's daughter got on there and the lawyers got involved.
Oh, is that what happened?
It was good until it was gone, like that.
It was good until until some lawyers got involved. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
well, some things don't change though. You see content creators, people on the internet doing anything they can to get some followers and to go viral. Sometimes it's just the simplest things. Just go back to your roots, right?
That's pretty much what it is. It neutralizes a lot of people.
Sure does.
This has been popular for thousands of years, I'm told.
So
what time can we expect you? Like, get your buddies on the line and get this order. I'm buying because they won't buy and you're cheap.
Get the chopper lined up. You're going to buy the chopper, right? You can pay for his ride.
If I could get a chopper, I would be there. Honestly, had I known, but you never get. Here's the other thing. You've probably known about this for 2 days. Like you have.
I was supposed to be in Milwaukee.
Okay, because you could have shot me a text and say, clear Wednesday night. Then I would have. You know what I would have done? I would have drove to Buffalo this afternoon, and then did my show remote from there, and then gone for dinner with you at 7:00.
Well, who's on the phone? Who's calling you?
Our Jay downtown. The
Downtown.
boss man.
Oh,
is
I
calling.
see.
I'm not. I guess he
Yeah.
doesn't know that we do this show.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah. It's
Oh,
weird.
I
We just
guess, yeah.
started. Yeah, good
Gotta be
stuff.
busy with everything going on up
Yeah.
there.
Big
Gotta
trouble
be
now.
recruiting
Yeah.
that girl for her
He's
show on the
already
network.
given me heck for my background. Does he like my scratcher here?
It's very nice. Yeah, back scratcher.
That's the
We got a
best.
kangaroo paw one for you. We're bringing in. That'll be our gift to you.
And like I say,
Oh, boy.
I never ask for anything free. I don't need them free. I pay for them, but I love this. You guys know that, right?
Yes, we know.
The best.
And what do you get in there? The orange, the grape, and what else?
There's the lemon.
Yeah.
There's three. It's orange, grape, and lemon. And I don't know which one's my favorite.
That's
I
good there.
Have you tried the Zevia?
Yes, the Zevia is the other box I have. I have a fridge right there with pop on him. Zevia and Cove are full of it.
There
He's
you go.
not Connor. He doesn't have to stop in. He's got it stocked.
You got
Stocked, he's
guys.
ready.
I got it stocked up. I don't.
You're
Yeah,
done.
I don't have to head on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock to pick up
Yeah.
my Cove and Zevia. So we're good.
So what are you doing anything in Florida, or you're just going to Edmonton?
So my understanding is games 3 and 4, Edmonton. If Edmonton has a chance to win game 5, which in Florida, we go. If not, we do a panel from here, and then game 6 back in Edmonton, and game 7. If there's a game 7, we
That
go.
makes sense.
Gotcha.
So I think in everything you got to be mindful of budgets and stuff. But I'm definitely going to games 3 and 4 in Edmonton. I'll be out there. So we might have to move things around for next Wednesday because I'm traveling that day.
Sure.
Let us know.
We'll
All
work
good.
it out.
Sounds
All right.
good, buddy.
Thanks, Noodles.
Be good, man. There you go. Jamie McLennan. A beauty like no other. One of the best. Jamie McLennan here every Wednesday, except for maybe next week from the sounds of it.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.